There it is. Look at the coloring, right? Blue, pink, orange. Bruh, look at this. Blue, pink, orange. I see it. I can see the colors, bro. You're copying. So we got an interesting video today. What happened to every show that copied Gumball? This is one of those videos that you guys have been recommending to me. We have been consuming a lot of Gumball content recently, and bro, they don't make cartoons like this anymore. Gumball is literally one of a kind. But when you're successful, somebody always wants to copy you. You know what I'm saying? That's how you know you really made it, when somebody wants to be like you. It's okay to take inspiration from something, but to take everything from something, now we got a copycat. You know what I'm saying? And that's not good. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and check this video out. This is by Gumball Universe. There will be a link to the original video down below. Go check it out.
There are over 4 shows who have been accused of copying Gumball, with similar elements such as animation, characters, writing, and so much more. So today, we're gonna go through all these Gumball clones and see what happened to them, how similar they really are to Gumball, and where they are today. Okay. Starting with the most infamous one, Miracle Star, which follows the life of a goat named Meowly Shing, and his talking pet frog.
Oh, I just see, yeah, this is Billy Blee. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but this is a Chinese thing. Okay. I mean, I ain't trying to, you know, start anything, but you are known to take stuff and, you know what I'm saying? Okay, that's all I gotta say. Also, it's really hard, I feel like, to copy, you know, Gumball, because like I said, it is pretty unique. And I'm talking about the art style, the characters, and also the way it's like set up. The background seems like it's real life, like realistic background. And then the cartoon is put into that said world. So like when you try to copy, it's pretty obvious, I feel like. Also, this guy's voice reminds me of like a Sunny V2 video.
Infamous one, Miracle Star, which follows the life of a goat named Meowly Shing and his talking pet frog Gua Gua. But instead of producing a somewhat new and original show, the creators saw the success of the amazing world of Gumball and tried to make a knockoff version with their own versions of the Gumball characters. And they didn't even try to hide it. This show just blatantly copied entire scenes from Gumball, only swapping out the characters for ones they actually owned. For example, one scene they copied came directly from the first episode of Gumball, titled The DVD. In that episode,
Season 1, Episode 1, they took it straight from the episode, bruh. Right when the season starts, they just took it.
In that episode, Nicole reminds Gumball to return a DVD of alligators on a train before they get fined. At first, Gumball tries to talk his way out of it, but after seeing Nicole punch the wall because of her full anger, he quickly agrees to return it. But in the Miracle Star version, the exact same scene is played. The only difference being their characters. But this isn't the only time Miracle Star copied Gumball scene by scene. If you search for comparison videos on YouTube, you will find multiple clips of Miracle Star directly copying Gumball, with the only real difference being the character designs. But even the characters themselves weren't unique. The family was simply swapped out with different animals, with Anais being the only one not having a counterpart, possibly due to China's former one-child policy, which restricted most families to only having one child, as well as boys being favored over girls in China. Other characters were also given counterparts.
Yo, even this, the way his lips are, right there, see that? That's similar to the other fish or jelly bean. See, this one's the same, bruh. That's a blatant copy.
Which restricted most families to only having one child, as well as boys being favored over girls in China. Other characters were also given counterparts. Carrie was replaced by a pot of broccoli. Masami's design remained mostly the same, with the only change being her color, and Bobbert was swapped out for their own robot. Instead of taking the boring approach and suing Miracle Star, Cartoon Network thought it'd be fun to make fun of the whole situation in an actual episode called The Copycat.
Nice.
And this episode starts with the Wattersons grocery shopping in the exotic food section. Gumball and Darwin make fun of strange items, but as they walk away, their counterparts, Chi-Chi and Ribbit, appear and begin repeating what Gumball and Darwin have said. Chi-Chi and Ribbit are versions that the Gumball team made up that's supposed to look like a reference to Miracle Star's characters.
That's so fire. I like that. I like that approach, you know what I'm saying? Because they know what they got, bruh. You can't replicate a Gumball, bruh. it's too good of a show, you feel me?
But they most likely only took this approach for legal reasons, because they didn't want to be labeled as copycats themselves for using it in this episode. At home,
How?
Gumball discovers that their counterparts are Chinese TV stars profiting off the copied versions of the Watersons episodes, like the DVD as previously mentioned. They do get a little laugh from their counterparts' descriptions, all of them except for Anais, who feels left out because she doesn't have a doppelganger, because obviously they don't like daughters in China. But little did the Watersons know this would actually end up saving them later in the episode. Fast forward a little bit and they find out that they're copying everything they do. So trying to stop them, they decide to fight against their copycats. But it's pretty much an even match because they're all just using their own moves against each other.
Wait,
Then
so even
Anais
their
points out
mom
that the
is OP just like Nicole is? Oh my god, no, they're even copying their strengths.
copycats aren't really trying to be evil, they're just lacking originality. So the family breaks into a song encouraging them to find their own style and be themselves. But that doesn't work, and the copycats immediately post their own version of what happened. As a last-ditch effort, the Watersons put their own lives at risk, doing the most dangerous stunts, hoping they kill off their copycats. However, that doesn't work, so they take it to the next level and get on a burning truck that's going towards an unfinished bridge. At first, it seems like they're completely screwed, but Anais uses her big brain and thinks of disconnecting the tank from the truck, helping them, well, not die. But without an Anais of their own, the copycats fall to their demise, being the end of the copycats.
True.
After the episode aired, Miracle Star received tons of backlash, having a 1 out of 10 rating on IMDb, leading to its cancellation in 2017.
Yo, it took that long though, because I noticed this episode came out in season 5, was it? And they've been copying stuff from season 1, unless Miracle Star came out like way after, stuff like that. Okay, the series aired from 2014 to 2017 with a total of 12 episodes broadcast before being canceled due to negative reviews. Oh wow, so they caught on really quick. Okay.
But Miracle Star wasn't the only show that tried to copy Gumball. Back in 2009, there was a show called Pinky Malinky, which follows the main character who's also called Pinky Malinky, who's just trying to fit into a human world. That's pretty much it. He has 2 best friends, JJ and Babs, who are always by his side. At first glance, it's pretty easy to notice that the animation style is quite similar to the Amazing World of Gumball.
Realistic in the back.
And there's actually a reason for that. The show's creator, Christopher Millard, worked as a storyboard artist on Gumball in season 1 and a writer for season 2. And you can tell this by looking at the very first episode of Pinky Malinky called Snacks, which starts in the Foodman Market Mart, where Pinky explains how important the snack Poppins is to the town of Snackenham and how much it impacted his life. But soon his friends discover that Poppins are being discontinued, which causes chaos throughout the city. When Pinky hears the news, he inflates like a balloon and bursts into the air. Immediately, it's clear that Pinky doesn't have the same physical limitations as his human friends. His body is extremely stretchy and aggressive, used for tons of visual gags. He can stretch incredibly far, shrink in size, and basically do things that no human could.
Yo, bro, being friends with a glizzy is crazy, bro. What's going on here? This one, so far, is not giving me any, like, Gumball vibes.
Very similar to the exaggerated movements of many Gumball characters. That said, these wacky stretch gags aren't special to Gumball. Plenty of animated shows like SpongeBob, Animatics, Tom and Jerry, and so much more use a similar format, where the main character can do a bunch of movements and stuff that can't be replicated in reality TV shows. Also, in a 2009 pilot of Pinky Malinky, Pinky has always been a character who can transform and do a lot of things with his body. All before Gumball was even a thing, because Gumball was created in 2011, which means that Pinky Malinky was never intended as a copy of Gumball.
So what the heck you doing?
Because of the timing, Pinky was seen as a ripoff, but the similarities don't stop there. One of Gumball's standout traits is its used mixed animation styles, from 3D to puppets to live action characters, you name it, and they've done it, which is what makes Gumball so unique. Pinky
bro,
Malinky,
that's literally what... Stole that straight out of my mouth. Pause. But that's what I was gonna say. That's what makes the show so unique, bro. And then this freaking cast of characters and how goofy they are, bro. Fire. fire.
While sticking to mostly basic character designs, isn't afraid to experiment with different animation styles. For example, in the beginning of the episode Change, there's a little gag moment where Pinky, Malinky, and JJ turn into real-life versions of themselves.
What is that build?
With Pinky becoming an actual hot dog and JJ turning into a girl version of himself. However, you could say that Christopher Miller didn't try to copy Gumball, but he instead took inspiration and learned from his experience and time working at the show. I would end it here, however, one of the characters from Pinky Malinky seems to be an exact copy of another character in the amazing world of Gumball. That character being Babs. This is definitely a stretch, but think about it. She's basically Darwin if he were human and girl. They both wear green and orange. They're nice, supportive, and serve as a friend for the main character. It's possible that Babs was designed as a reference to Christopher Millard's previous work, for something fans could point out and laugh at, but she's not. She's a major support character who appears in multiple episodes. And when a character is similar not only in design but also in personality traits, it stops feeling like a funny cameo and starts feeling more like they took Darwin, changed his gender, and called it a day.
Okay.
So, is Pinky Malinky a ripoff of Gumball?
I don't think so.
Well, I don't think so.
Yeah. This is
Despite
more
its-
like an inspiration type of, well, this is a crazy pause, but this is more like taking inspiration and I guess showing respect to the original work. I'm not sure, but definitely inspiration.
many similarities. Of course, there are going to be parallels in animation, plot, and character dynamics when one of Gumball's original creatives is behind the show.
Yes.
But that doesn't necessarily make it right. It's okay to take inspiration from something you helped create, as long as you bring something new to the table.
Correct.
Take Rebecca Sugar. For example, before creating Steven Universe, she was one of the
goated. Why nobody mention this? Man, what's up with y'all? And I also don't see a lot of Gravity Falls being mentioned either, bruh. We might have to hop on that cartoon
main
soon.
writers and storyboard artists for Adventure Time, another really popular show.
Hello,
but instead of
Vash!
copying Adventure Time's characters, plot, and animation style, she used what she learned from the experience and built something original.
Yeah.
That's why Steven Universe became such a success.
Yeah.
It had lovable characters, an interesting story, and different animation. There's a difference between being inspired by something and copying it.
Yeah.
To quote Gumball himself, be your own you, be your own you, try something new, and find your own things to do.
Yeah.
And that quote will be important for this next show we're gonna talk about. Just keep that in mind. But to answer the last question, what happened to Pinky Malinky? Well, it seems that Pinky Malinky was canceled. Though there's no official news that the show was canceled. The show was completed for years, but it didn't release until 2019.
Oh!
With all that time the show was finished, the people behind it probably moved on. Not only that, but when the show was first announced, it immediately got backlash for supposedly being a knockoff of Gumball.
Oh my God.
The final nail.
Wow, wait, that actually makes sense. Okay, that ties everything up. Okay, because I'm like, wait, this is just, like if it came out before, why is it a copycat if Gumball came out in 2011, was it? But this was 09. So, but yeah, this makes sense now. Okay.
On the coffin for another season. And since we're talking about Netflix, the platform that hosted the show, they are notorious for canceling less popular shows to put more money into shows that seem more successful.
Correct.
But another lesser known show that has also been accused of copying Gumball is Elliot from Earth. Elliot from Earth follows a boy and his mom who are transported across the universe, landing in a strange world filled with aliens. Far from their home planet, which is Earth, they try to find out who brought them here and why. They start building a new life on this planet and eventually meet some characters, including Mo, the talking dinosaur. Unlike other shows I've mentioned before, Elliot from Earth doesn't exactly have anything that stands out that could be considered a copy of Gumball. One of the first things you'd probably notice while watching Elliot from Earth is how much the animation reminds you of Gumball. Both shows have
never
those
seen
moments
this
where the
before.
animation really goes all out.
Yes.
Super detailed, almost cinematic shots you'd never expect in a cartoon. It really shows how much effort went into making both shows. So why do they look so similar? Well, it's not just a coincidence. They were actually made by the same UK-based branch of Cartoon Network Studios.
Oh.
The shared production team explains a lot, from fluid character animation to the detailed backgrounds.
Exactly.
You can totally see similar things in both shows. Not only that, but Sarah Fell, one of the producers on Gumball, actually stepped up as a creative director character for Elliot from Earth, which is probably why both shows have a similar vibe.
Yeah, so
Same
then that's
humor,
fine. Oh, here we go. Same humor. Wait.
and really identical animation.
Oh.
Even if the Gumball animation can be explained by them being produced by the same team that brought us Gumball.
Exactly.
there's
That's what I'm saying. So like, if it's the same producers, the same production team, that you know what I'm saying? Like that makes sense because they're an expert in that said animation style. So if they're the same people, then it is what it is. As long as it doesn't have the same characters or like same plots and storylines, and you know what I'm saying? Yeah, this is fine.
Character that also seems really closely similar to Darwin, which is very similar to the previous situation with Pinky Malinky. For starters, they both have positive and curious outlooks on life, always trying to do the right thing and make others feel happy and included. Both characters are incredibly loyal friends. Darwin is always by Gumball's side no matter how wild things get, and Mo forms a strong bond with Elliot, sticking with him through every adventure. But that makes sense for a character who's supposed to support the main character. However, there's more. They are also both highly adaptable. Darwin goes from a pet fish to a walking fish who has implemented himself in the Watterson family, and Mo, who was originally a dinosaur walking on his 4 legs, adapted to walking on 2 legs.
Just chilling.
And they use glasses for his weak eyesight. They both even have a similar color scheme, with Darwin and Mo each having green and orange colors.
Green and orange, yeah.
So is Elliot from Earth a ripoff of Gumball?
No.
Well, from what I can gather, I don't believe so. While the show might share some surface level similarities with Gumball, Elliot from Earth seems to lean more towards its story-driven scenes rather than your typical cartoon. Its characters, storytelling, and writing feel unique and very promising. Unfortunately though, the show was quietly canceled after only 16 episodes.
Oh man.
Although it was never officially canceled, enough time has passed since the first season finale for many to assume it won't return for a second season.
Yeah, it's cooked.
And it seems that there's a cliffhanger in the last episode, which makes things even worse for big fans of the show. Not only that, but the show's creator and showrunner, Guillaume Cassoda, parted ways with Cartoon Network just a few months after the finale.
Well, it was like a regular guy.
Then, in 2022, the show was removed from HBO Max.
Oh, yeah, it's cooked.
Along with several other Cartoon Network titles to save an extra buck.
Oh, you know.
Out of all of the shows on this list, Elliot from Earth feels like the most promising one that ended too soon.
Yeah.
Given it was created by some of the talent behind the amazing world of Gumball, I wouldn't be surprised if the show could pull you in with its unique characters and world like Gumball did. However, the next show accused of copying Gumball is Harvey Beaks.
What the
This
hell
show
is
follows a bluebird named Harvey and his friends, Fee and Foe, as they explore their life.
But what the hell is this, bruh? Yo, this looks funny.
And Foe, as they explore their life in Little Bark Grove. At first glance, nothing about this show really screams to be a copy of Gumball.
Yeah.
Both shows take place in different environments and both have different animation styles.
Yes.
They are also both produced by different networks, until you realize Harvey, Fee, and Foe are similar to Gumball, Darwin, and Anais. At first glance, it might seem like they are totally different groups.
No, it's the cut. There it is. Look at the coloring, right? Blue, pink, orange. Bruh, look at this. Blue, pink, orange. I see it. I can see the colors, bro. You're copying.
They're totally different groups, but when you dive deeper into them, you can see some similarities between each group. Each trio is made up of young, adventurous characters with unique personalities that balance each other out. Harvey is the kind, thoughtful one, kind of like Darwin. Fee is the chaotic one who reminds you of Gumball. And Foe, while not as smart as Anais, kind of reflects her dumber side, as seen in the episode The Goons. Not only that, but they also share similar color schemes.
Yes.
Gumball is blue like Harvey, Fee is pink like Anais, and Foe is orange like Darwin.
I saw it.
Speaking of Foe and Darwin and Foe both grew up without their families and have a similar backstory. We know that Darwin was sold to Richard in the episode The Origins, where he was thought of as just a pet fish. But after being separated, the love between Darwin and Gumball kept their spirits and hopes up.
I feel like I remember that episode.
And return he did. Despite all the challenges he had to face, he was given opportunities that make him the fish we all know today. Although we still don't know who Darwin's parents are or how he ended up in the shopkeeper's van. And even though Darwin would like to know who his parents are or where he grew up, he found a new family who love him and treat him than more than just a pet. When it comes to Fee and Foe, they were both separated by their parents and had to survive on their own. Although they did reunite with their parents, Fee and Foe looked up to Harvey's parents when their parents weren't there, and thought of Harvey as family. A random similarity, but Harvey's family were also animals like the Wattersons.
Oh,
but
true.
This is definitely a reach.
What the?
As for the environment, Harvey lives in a literal forest, so that makes sense because they're birds, but it's definitely something to point out. So, is Harvey Beaks a ripoff of Gumball?
No.
From what I can gather, once again, I don't see it.
No,
The
yeah.
two shows have their own unique style, tones, and stories. There might be a few similarities between them, but it doesn't seem like they're straight up copying Gumball.
Exactly.
And more like taking inspiration, which makes total sense. Since both shows were created by C.H. Greenblatt, what really sets apart Harvey Beaks
Same
is how
thing.
deep the show can actually get. Harvey Beaks isn't afraid to tackle deeper themes, like family and even death. Topics that are surprisingly heavy for a kid's cartoon. Not to say Gumball doesn't also have these moments as well, as they have many episodes that can get quite story-driven. But compared to other shows running on Nickelodeon,
Gumball's episodes take the craziest turns, and that's what makes it so good. On top of the animation style and the jokes and the delivery, I'm just like, bro, what did I just watch? And it makes it mad funny, bro. You don't expect it.
Harvey Beaks was definitely one of the few who had moments like this in the show, making it unique and interesting.
That's cool, yeah.
Not only that, but it seems the fan communities for both The Amazing World of Gumball and Harvey Beaks often show love for both cartoons.
Nice.
As for what happened to Harvey Beaks, the show was ultimately canceled after 2 seasons, possibly because it never reached the same popularity as other Nickelodeon shows that were on at the time, like SpongeBob or The Fairly Odd Parents. The show
it's that
then was
old?
eventually pushed to Nicktoons, where it seemed to be left to die.
Bruh.
But because you made it all the way to the end of the video, you should subscribe. And if you don't want to, that's okay. But if you enjoyed this video and you want to help us create more content like this, it really helps us out.
How about I leave a like? There we go. Hey, very nice video. I'm not gonna lie. The worst one here is Miracle Star. This is a legit copy, and I love how Gumball, how they put that in the episodes. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was pretty cool. Every other one seems to be inspired from or just had like the same production team or you know what I'm saying, like the same people working behind the show. So yeah, I think that's it. Miracle Star, what the hell y'all doing, man? Copying word for word, bar for bar. Damn. But yeah, that's about it, bro. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Shout out to Gumball Universe, and I'll see y'all on the next one.